All right. Well, thank you guys so much once again for joining us for the 2020 virtual GBO. These are not really the events that we wanted to run, but they're the events that we've been forced to run. We wanted to make the best of the situation. So here we are with 6 of disc golf's finest competitors. And we're excited just to hear kind of what they have to say. You guys have submitted some questions and we're going to get to those. But if you are in the YouTube chat or in Facebook chat, we would love for you to drop a comment for them so that we can ask your question to them. If it's a ridiculous question, we probably won't ask it. But if it's a good one, we might. So those are your chances. Let's do some quick introductions around the board. So I'm going to switch my view here. All right, so I'm going to start with the person who popped up on my screen first. He's the 5-time world champion. We don't really need a lot of introduction, but this is Paul McBeth, everybody. Say hello, Paul.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Nice. Paul, what have you been doing during the quarantine, during the stay at home to keep your game sharp?
To keep my game sharp. Well, what I've been doing mainly is a lot of projects around the house and the property. But to keep the game sharp, it's been just a lot of putting, to be honest, and finally getting into the gym more because my off season was kind of lame. I had the boot for most of it, so it's kind of this has been a good break for me.
Dang, I can dig it. I at this point I had kind of forgotten about the boot. I'm sure you hadn't, but yeah, I mean the season was up and running and then immediately cut short, so that's not fun. But thanks, Paul, for being here. We appreciate you joining us. We also have is it 2017, right, Nate?
Yeah.
2017 United States Disc Golf World Champion. United States Champion. This is hard. Come on. You may have seen him on Showmez as well as doing commentary on the regular. This is Nate Sexton. What's going on, Nate?
Hey, guys.
Thanks for joining us, man. What's your stay-at-home time been like?
A lot of time with my daughter and, kicking around home, riding some bikes. Not too much.
Yeah, I can dig it. You just said you just got some new mountain bikes you're pretty stoked about.
Yeah, just yesterday. Trying to get into that. It was fun. Really looking forward to trying that out a little bit more. And as far as keeping your game sharp, this is a horrible time to have your game sharp. Nowhere to use it. Don't be a fool.
Yeah, I respect it. That's excellent. All right, let's keep on moving. We have someone who you've probably seen on YouTube a whole lot lately, coming up with challenges, throwing all sorts of shots, acting like he's tired after throwing those shots, but we know he's not. It's your favorite YouTuber, or at least one of them, Simon Lizotte. What's going on, Simon?
Oh, not much going on. Like Nate said earlier, that I feel like I've been talking to someone on the laptop for a couple days in a row, doing podcasts, interviews, or whatever, talking to friends back home or on tour. And trying to stay busy with YouTube, be productive, help out the sponsors, and keep the fans entertained. So, I've been almost more busy than I would be if I'm on tour playing disc golf.
Yeah, I've heard that from a few people that, their job or whatever they've been doing, even though they're in place, it just seems like there's a lot more stuff going on. So I totally understand that. What's been your favorite video to make so far?
Oh, that's such a hard question. I don't know. I guess the most surprising was my 10-foot challenge, because I just kind of did that out of fun for no big reason. But then I don't know how many other players have done it so far, and it gained me so many new subscribers. So looking back at that was super fun to make.
Awesome. Yeah, that's been a really cool one. We also have with us today the highest rated left-handed thrower in the world, also the highest rated hair game, at least in the conversation, in the world. Chris Clemons, what's going on, Chris?
How's it going, guys? Glad to be here.
Looking good. As Nate said in our little pre-show, you're ready to fly some planes here, and we appreciate you being prepared for us. Thank you. Yeah. What have you been up to during the stay-at-home time, Chris?
Learning how to pilot. Honestly, these are like my gaming headphones. So I play some games with some buddies. I play with Jordan Castro. A lot of working out, throwing, putting. Just it's kind of the off-season 2.0, but in nicer weather.
Nice. I can dig it, man. Good to have you. And then we have a couple of special guests joining us from nowhere near our time zones. A couple of Estonians. We're going to start with the most recent U.S. women's disc golf champion. This is Kristen Tatar. Kristen, how are you?
Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be part of this, and I'm doing fine.
Awesome. What have you been up to during this time?
Well, our house is under construction at the moment, so me and Silver, we've been doing a lot of the work ourselves. So actually, this virus has given us the opportunity to do that work and to finish it up. But I've also been working out a lot. I've been exercising, just running and doing some strength training. So not so much disc golf because it hasn't been that safe to go out there. But the courses that have been open, I've been playing some of them.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us today, Kristen. We appreciate it. And what time is it over in Estonia right now?
It's 10 past 12.
Okay, so you're making a huge sacrifice for us at this point. Not so much for the rest of these people, but thank you for joining us, Kristen. We really appreciate that.
No worries.
And then last but not least, the Bazooka. You've seen him celebrating on the course. 100% if you watch disc golf on YouTube, you've seen it. This is Albert Tamm. How's it going, Albert?
What's up, guys? It's nice to be here.
Awesome, man. Thank you for joining us. What have you been up to during this time?
I'm finishing off school, so I've been working on my thesis and just been throwing some frisbees at my home, working on technique, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's fantastic. What are you writing your thesis on?
Disc golf injuries, what are the most common ones and how to prevent them.
Dude, that's fantastic. Good stuff. Excellent. Well, we've got quite a few questions that have been submitted to us via Google form, and then we've also got some that are going to be coming in the chat. And so I'm just going to start at the top with a question for everybody, and then we'll go from there. So one of the questions that we got from Mike Dwyer, he said, as a pro, how do you decide which non-major tournaments to play in each year? Specifically, what are the factors that make you choose a specific regional tournament? And I'm just going to go in the order that I see on my screen. So I'll start with Nate, Sexton, and then we'll go to Albert and move on from there.
I mean, for me, it's just about whether it fits in the schedule geographically and time-wise. A lot of it for me personally is also about what my wife is doing at work, and if it's possible for me to add another weekend to my touring schedule outside of the majors and the ones that you really have to be at to be an elite player. And then other factors would be like a really fun course or something that would make me think, oh, that's worth, making the time and carving out the time to go play an event that might not have the prestige of a national tour or major.
Nice. Albert, it's a little bit different for you guys. You're over in the U.S. Just a few months out of the year, but either here in the U.S. or over in Europe, how do you guys choose outside of the huge tournaments what you're going to play?
For me, it's pretty much all the biggest tiers that are out here, 8 tiers, trying to play most of them. And when it comes to US, just play pretty much every big tournament is out there.
Do y'all take off weekends when you're over in the US very much or no?
Last time we did, it was a good decision, and I'm still planning to do them more often.
Cool. What do you think, Simon?
I personally nowadays love off weekends, honestly. So I try to have every off weekend that I possibly can. One for mental health and the other for physical health, because playing every weekend can be very demanding mentally and physically. So I've learned to kind of take a break when I get a chance to take a break. But if I throw in a smaller C tier or B tier, then it'll be convenience or something, maybe a course I really like. Or if the weather's nice, I'll spontaneously decide to drive out and play for fun. But yeah, mostly stick to the main schedule.
Yeah, excellent. What do you think, Kristin?
I think it's pretty much what Simon said and what Nate said. It has to be a fun event to take part of it, or it just is in between some major or big tournaments, and it's on the way. So maybe then I'll take part.
I gotcha. Chris, anything to add to that?
Yeah, just the last couple of years I've toured with Jordan Castro, and so we kind of make up a schedule, and we kind of just pick the stuff that makes the most sense logistically. You know, if we're up in the Northwest and we have to come back to the Midwest, we might pick something in Montana or Colorado or something like that. But just the ones that historically have good turnouts and, you know, pay a lot.
So there you go. Money is definitely a big factor, I think, in deciding on those tournaments sometimes. Last but not least, Paul, I know that you kind of stick to more of a major tournament schedule. Do you play any smaller ones? And if so, what are the factors that help you to choose those?
Yeah, I mean, I think they hit on all those points. I think the first thing that comes to mind is the courses. I think the courses is really important. I want to play a course that I feel like it's going to be fun. If I'm playing a smaller tournament, I'm not really worried about the money side of it. I just want to have a good time, and honestly, that's really it. So that and convenience of schedule, convenience of schedule. I like to play some here in Virginia or Southern California if possible.
Awesome. Thank you for your answers, guys. I'm not really sure who to direct this question to, so I'm just going to pick a couple of you who I think will be on the opposite end of the spectrum here. So this question comes in from Michael Clayton. He says, in professional golf, he says ball golf, but we'll just go with golf. Players scout courses and have meticulously measured yardage points from all over the course so that for most shots, they know what yardage number they're trying to hit. 152 yards to the front of the green, for instance. Do professional disc golfers have measurements like that they are throwing at, or do you guys just judge with your eye? And so I'm going to ask Simon first. Whoa. How do you do this? Are you pretty particular about your distances, or are you kind of a field player?
I am, as you probably guessed or knew, a complete field player.
Yes.
I remember back in the day when I was on tour with Avery, who is the opposite of a field player, kind of. And every time he felt like the tee sign was off, that was the first thing he was going to blame. Oh, that's not 350 feet. If he threw like 40 feet long. But I was always confused by that kind of thinking and mentality. So I was like, you see it right there. Like, just throw what your brain tells you to throw. So yeah, the older I get, I feel like I look more at the actual tee sign and how far it is. But I think overthinking a shot is always the first step to throwing a bad shot. So just kind of like step up and just do what feels right.
Excellent. Cool. And I'm curious, Nate, what do you have specific distances that you like to throw, or are you a field player as well?
Definitely more on the feel side. I'm just going to play my practice round and get to my spots and, you know, test what disc works from there, you know. Hopefully a couple practice rounds if conditions are ideal for the time that I have to be there. So I definitely am not doing much of like, I'll look at the tee sign, sure, but I'm not sitting in the fairway like, how is this 380 or is this 340? I don't really do that. I just sort of look at it and pick the disc that seems appropriate.
Awesome. Okay, so I can see Kristen, Chris, and Paul on the screen just by nodding or shaking your head. Do you keep pretty specific distances in your mind, or is it just see it and throw it? So Chris,
see it and throw it.
Yeah, probably see and throw it more so.
Okay, cool. So you guys are saying see it and throw it. I saw Chris, you shook or nodded your head. It looked like for distances. Is that right?
Yeah, I think like when I'm practicing a course, I do go by feel, but if a certain hole or shot is giving me trouble, I'll try to get certain points and kind of keep in mind, you know, what I'm throwing. If I'm throwing a felon 350 and I'm throwing my verdict 300, I'll try to be at a certain point. And so I do ask, like, if I have people caddying or even in the crowd, I'll be like, how far do you think this is? Just because I like to have a number in mind.
Yeah. Have you ever messed around with using a rangefinder at all?
I have not personally, no.
Cool. I was just curious. I didn't know if those were pervasive at the top level. I know I've seen Paige Pierce do it sometimes and Kevin Jones a little while back. So I didn't know if you guys did that at all. Very cool. Here's a question for everybody. So we'll go through the ranks again. What has been or will be the most difficult shot of your career? That's kind of a broad question, but I don't know. I think for you guys who have, I mean, all of y'all have won tournaments at one level or another. Would you say that one of those shots was one of your most difficult that you had to grind over a ton? Or is it something that you feel like there's still a shot coming that I'm going to be more worried about, or that's going to cause me more difficulty. I've got Nate first on my screen, so we'll start with Nate.
Well, I guess I would say the most difficult shot of my career, it's unlikely that I succeeded at that shot.
Okay.
So whatever that shot was, it probably went in the water because it was probably a big pressure shot. And if it was really the most difficult shot of my career, what's the chances that I nailed it? Low.
That's fair. Okay. I like the realistic outlook. That's cool. Paul, what do you think?
Probably, honestly, sticking an island hole on number 17, whether it's USDGC or the World Championships last year. Yeah, the ledge on the small little island. So honestly, it's not a hard shot, but when you put in the pressure and what's on the line, that's probably the hardest one of my career and many others as well.
Yeah, I've said that before as just like a regular old guy standing on 17. You don't know what it feels like to feel what you guys are feeling until you're doing it in a tournament situation. It's a whole lot different than sitting and watching and thinking, I could throw 240 feet or whatever it is.
It's not a difficult shot. It's just the situation.
Yeah. Simon, what's been your most difficult shot so far?
I'm happy I wasn't first because I couldn't think of anything, and I'm still struggling to think of something. But the only things that come to mind is 2018, 2 of my putts for eagle. One, Waco last hole after I threw that big putter shot, and then missed like a 20-footer for eagle, which would have. I knew everyone was watching, everyone was expecting me to make it, and I feel like I just crumbled under that pressure. And then I'd throw down the mountain on hole 18 again of the last round. I threw this, one of the greatest tee shots I've ever seen or thrown, to make it on that cliff and putting for eagle from like another 20 or a bit outside of 20 feet. And same thing. And I remember just breaking down and I almost cried. Just so frustrating. And I think the shot after an amazing shot, the next shot is very difficult to keep up that level of awesomeness.
Sure. So it kind of validates the shot. It makes it worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Kristin, what's been your most difficult shot so far?
I can't think of anything particular, but I guess any shot under pressure, like Paul and Nate said, it's going to be difficult. And I've definitely felt pressure. So whenever I feel the pressure, even like the easiest up shot or easiest putt becomes very nerve-wracking and very. When you don't feel well, then any shot can be very difficult.
Sure. So going back to your U.S. Women's Championship, you threw a lot of really tight, hyzer flips in the woods and stuff like that. Was there one of those that stuck out to you as maybe that was the most difficult in your mind at the time, or that you felt the most nervous standing over?
I remember feeling the pressure when I was starting the tournament on the first hole, and I bogeyed it. It was awful. But after that, I didn't feel a lot of pressure. I was just focused on executing the shots and just sticking to my game plan. And I remember the last putt, maybe then I felt a bit of nerves, but it was 3 feet. So it wasn't too hard.
Nice. That's always a good putt to have.
Yeah.
Chris, what about you, man?
I think going kind of off what Kristen said, usually the hardest shot for me is the first shot of a tournament, the first tee shot, because you're practicing all week, you're thinking about how you're going to play. But then once you kind of throw it, all the stress goes away. But yeah, just stressful shots. Island holes, those are always tough because you overthink them. Usually island holes are 300 feet or less, and you're like, I have this shot all day. Then you end up overthinking them.
Yeah. Last but not least, Albert, what do you think?
I go with Paul. The hole 17 at the USDC, you missed the island once, and every other shot becomes more difficult than the one before. So that was kind of, I think, the first thing that come to my mind.
Yeah, excellent. We've got a question here from Jeff. I want to ask this to both Albert and Kristin. What kind of routine do you do before a drive/up shot versus putting? Is there anything that you say to yourself in those situations? Are your routines the same or are they different? Because disc golfers hear all the time about the importance of routine, and I would love to hear about what your routines are like.
I don't think of anything. That's my routine, I guess. I just maybe if I think about anything at all, it's just focusing on what I have to do to execute the shot that I need to execute, and where I have to place my foot. And I look at the tee pad, or just when I'm going putting, I just make sure my shoulders are towards the basket and everything's fine, and then just mind goes blank, I guess. I don't think about anything, and there's no routine or no lucky charm things in my bag or anything. So
very cool. Very cool. I like being able to just turn your mind off and throw. I think a lot of people would be very happy if they could do that. Albert, what do you do?
I think I just go through the motion once, just like know that I have the feel to execute the shot, and just take a deep breath and execute.
Excellent. Paul, this question came in from the chat for you. They said, will you tell us a little bit about the tournaments you've played in Japan and the differences of the disc golf culture compared to America?
Yeah, I've actually only played once in Japan, and it was pretty incredible. I remember you take like your first year on the plane to get there, and then you land, and then you take a bus for like 2 hours, I think it was. I think I fell asleep, but I think it was 2 hours, and then the bus picks up like you and a bunch of other players and competitors there. So there's probably like 40 people on this bus, and then you get to the hotel, or it's kind of like a complex. It's got like a bunch of apartments. It's got like a headquarters. It's got a bunch of restaurants. It was different. And the bus pulls in, and then there's like 50 people there just cheering and banners and all sorts of stuff. It was like a big festival when the bus got there, and it was unloading everyone, and they were greeting you. It was a pretty incredible experience. And then, yeah, you just check into the hotel, you get your room, and then you just get a practice, and you get food vouchers and all this stuff. So it was a pretty incredible experience. And then there was some nights where they would host these festivals where they'd have like all these crazy dancers and flames and all sorts of stuff. But it was like it was just like a big community. So it was really cool. So that's, I mean, it's kind of the experience that I had the first time. There's so many things that happened that this would be a really long answer if I said it all. So just a little, a few little details there.
Very cool. Yeah. It just seems like a really cool, just like you said, an immersive experience, right? Mm-hmm. There's one other question for you in the chat, Paul. When you said something about being in a walking boot earlier, this reminded me of that. They said hindsight is always 20/20, but Paul, do you have any regrets about not having your ankle surgery in the spring instead of waiting until the fall?
I don't have to have surgery. So as far as I know, there was never any surgery or anything like that. There's potential of things like that, but there was never anything where I was told, yeah, you got to have surgery to fix it. So the first diagnosis, and then I got like some other ones that were like, no, just do this, do that. So I'm definitely going to get it reevaluated at some point this year, and then see where to go from there. So there's, no regrets. If I didn't play those first 3, I'd be still waiting, 8 months to play. So.
Right. Yeah, it would have been the longest break you've had in a very long time.
Ever. Since playing the sport, ever. Yeah.
Very cool. Nate, this question is for you from the chat. They said, you have a background in education. You were going to be a science teacher, I think. That's what they said. When you're done touring at some point, is that still of interest to you?
Maybe. I don't have a really strong desire to do that at this moment. But yeah, you will see how bored I get once I retire.
That's fair. Would you like to work in disc golf for, as long as you could at this point?
I think that's more likely at this point.
Yeah.
Than going the teaching route. I think the disc golf will likely be my employment post playing.
Very cool. Okay. This is a personal question. How many more years do you think you have?
Me?
Yeah. Hit me with it.
Jeez, I'm still getting better every day.
That's what I'm talking about.
I don't know. I don't know. I think it's less about how much longer I can do it, and more about how much longer I want to do it. Because it's just like we'll see when my wife gets done with residency. I mean, I'm under contract through this season and the next season, so for sure I'm playing those two all out. I mean, obviously this season is kind of weird, but then after that, we'll see. We'll see if I think I'll probably do at least some more after that. Maybe try to start building that bridge to post-playing career. I don't know. I think I can compete for a lot longer. I'm turning 35 on Monday.
Yeah. Excellent answer. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. We'll start with you for this one. This is what one that I want to ask of everybody. This is also from the chat. They said, who is the biggest prankster on tour? And if they have a prank that kind of stood out to you as, wow, that was pretty solid, who would, and you can share it in a family friendly environment, who would that person be?
Man, the biggest prankster. I don't feel like we've got, no one is like coming straight to mind is like, what a prankster. This guy is just unreal. But there's a lot of goofy people. Big Germ is super goofy. So I'd say Big Germ, he's down to clown.
Yes, I agree with you. Albert, who do you think is the biggest prankster out there? Or a goofy person as well is good as well, if you can't think of someone who's like always pulling pranks on people.
I think Eric Oakley might be the guy who might do some tricks out there.
Yep. And yell at you while doing it. That's entirely possible. Paul, who do you think?
It's hard to say on tour. I do have a good buddy back in Southern California, Noah Rodriguez. He would pull pranks on honestly anyone, whether they're touring pros or not. He got me a whole bunch, but on tour, not too many people.
Gotcha. Kristin, who do you think?
Not a lot of goofy people amongst FBO players, I would say, and not in Estonia as well. But when I think of a person, maybe Jeremy Colling, yes.
Yeah, I think everyone would agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
Chris, what do you think?
I think Zach Melton, man, he's always doing stuff. He's putting rocks in people's bags, just like putting leaves on their cars. Like he's always up to something. Him and Madison together.
I want to change my answer. That's so right.
Yeah, that's the correct answer.
It's for sure, Zach. I didn't think. Sorry,
100%.
Zach. For sure, Zach.
Yeah.
I can dig it. All right. Last but not least, Simon, who do you think?
I was hoping you would have me before Chris, because I knew Chris was going to say Zach Melton, and that was my answer too.
Sorry, man.
I mean, I've been pranked by Zach. I think 90% of all disc golfers have been pranked by Zach at some point. Germ is a good answer too. But that might be a good idea for the YouTube channel, is like in the future back on tour, like the prank of the week or something featuring Zach Melton on the vlog or something. Sounds like a fun little extra.
Guest starring Zach Melton. I like that. All right, this was submitted a while ago from Ian, and Simon, I want to ask this to you because you're kind of in this world right now, and then I'll also ask Nate as well. Do you think there is a need for Patreon type platforms for athletes? I would love to support disc golfers without having to buy more discs. What do you guys think about that? I can give him your PayPal address if you'd like, and you can just send it straight to you.
Oh my God. I don't think I've ever heard that perspective before. I've been reading some comments under my personal videos that people are asking, how can we support you financially? Because I mean, YouTube is for free. You have to watch the ad, but other than that, it's pretty much free entertainment. So definitely people want to support out there, which is awesome. Patreon is something I have thought about. I might start it soon. I might not. I don't know. I'm still discussing with you, see if it makes sense for me or not. But other than that, I think it's great for people like Alyssa Van Lenen or other people like that who are not as lucky as a couple of guys on here who need some extra money and work for that extra money and give a lot of fans like that extra mile to support. And I think it's awesome. Yes.
Very cool. Nate, what do you have to say about it?
I think certainly it's more important for the Joe Mezes and Central Coasts and Alyssas of the world. I think the Patreon support there is huge. And, I've had a Patreon for a couple years for commentary. I don't do that much with it, honestly. So not that it's a bad platform. It's an awesome bridge between like a sport no one knows about and a sport that's a big deal, like where there's fans supporting the revenue, because we don't sell tickets to get into our events yet. So at some point when we get there, then I think that would fade away and not be as relevant of an income source for our players. But if you're offering something outside of golf, I don't really see how you would sell it as just like, I play disc golf, pay me,
Sure.
because everyone's doing that. So if you're doing something outside of that, like the commentary or the vlogging or whatever, it makes some sense to give your fans a chance to support that work. But yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic platform. I think I've kind of backed off of mine because Jomez has really leaned into theirs, and Jomez pays me directly. So I kind of feel like I'm double dipping a little bit if I'm getting on my Patreon a bunch, because there's probably a lot of the same people are supporting both of us.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Here is one from from the Google form earlier. And this is more of a backhand form question. So I'd love to hear Kristin and Paul's input on this. Troy said, to use your lower body, are you pushing your back foot forward? How much of a lag is there to pulling the disc with your elbow? So I think he's talking about the importance of using your lower body. How much are you thinking about pushing off when you throw? And we'll start with Kristin. Sorry.
Well, for me, nobody's ever taught me disc golf or how to throw, so I had to do it all by myself, and it sort of came very naturally. And now I've been watching videos of myself, how I throw, and watching how everybody else is throwing, and kind of connecting the dots that I've been doing the right thing. And I think the lower body has a very huge impact. I guess Paul can explain it a little bit better. But yeah, I think I push my right leg a bit forward, and yeah. Well, Paul can explain it in more detail, I guess, because I'm very rusty in English. I haven't been speaking in English for half a year, I guess, but it has a huge part in throwing backhand, I think.
Very cool. Thank you. Paul, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the back leg is really important. I didn't teach disc golf at a college level like someone on this board did, but yeah, most of my info, most of the things that I teach came from Nate. So yeah, I think the back leg is really important. I think you use it a lot to drive into your shot. It's the last part that you're pushing forward into your shot. So each shot starts with the lower body. So it's really important, from your footwork to your hips. Really important. And I think what that does is it helps you drive your elbow through the shot. What my favorite story from Nate's teaching is you got to think about it like you're trying to knock down a door. If there's a burning building, you got to get out of that building. You're going to drive your elbow through that door. So that's kind of the power spot for that elbow to drive through the shot. So start from the bottom, back leg pushing forward into your drive, and then leading that elbow through the door. Was that
Awesome.
good, Nate?
I gotta unmute. Beautiful.
Yeah, I was going to ask, Nate, do we have anything to add to that?
Only that teaching disc golf at the college level sounds a lot fancier than it actually is.
That's fair. But I mean, a 5-time world champion just said you basically taught him all he knows. And so, these are the facts.
I taught him what he knows about teaching disc golf.
Oh, okay.
I didn't teach him
I
misunderstood. What he knows about playing disc golf.
I see.
No, but I taught him what he knows about getting in front of a crowd and telling other people how to play disc golf.
Very cool. I mean, I guess since we're talking about it and all of y'all throw, very far, I'd like to hear what Simon, Albert, and Chris have to say as well. So we'll start with Simon. I know that you've talked about when you reach back, kind of moving the disc outside of your body and setting the disc in place and then moving your body around it. Talk about the action that your lower body plays in that.
Oh man, that starting disc golf at such a young age, obviously you don't know what you do or why you do it. So as Paul said, I learned most of my teaching from Avery or watching other disc golfers do clinics on YouTube. I filmed myself obviously a lot, looked at me in slow-mo and kind of just try to explain the movements I do without knowing that I do them or why I do them. So I usually try and stand back on form advice because I always feel like I have no clue what I'm talking about. And I don't know what I do or why it works. So Paul Ulibarri is very good at explaining stuff like that. So people who want to know more about that, spam Uli.
Yes, please. If you take anything from this hour, it's spam Uli. I appreciate that. Albert, what do you think, man? How does the lower body play a part in the throw for you?
That's one thing, like pushing with the left leg. Some people have asked me how I do it. It's just a thing that I don't think on. So there's like still many things that I'm still working on to like finish my throw. But I think for me the key is just like slow the tempo and feel the timing. Like if the timing is on point, the legs will be there in the shot.
Excellent. Chris, what do you think?
I think everybody's kind of summed it up. The lower body's a huge part of the throw. And I came from playing baseball my whole life. And so I've had that drilled into me, hitting or pitching, you have to use your lower body. So it's no different for disc golf.
Excellent. We'll start off with Chris and Albert for this one. If you could have a disc golf sponsorship from a company that currently isn't in disc golf, so we're not talking disc manufacturers, we're not talking apparel that's currently in disc golf, what would your dream sponsorship be? Somebody also asked, they asked what kind of conditioner you use. So if you want to go with Pantene, you can, but I don't want to force it on you. You say what you want to say, Chris.
To be honest, I don't even know the name brand of my conditioner. My girlfriend Kayla, she gets it at the salon, and it comes like in a box.
Salon conditioner.
Yeah, it comes like in a box. Like I bet Kristin knows what it is. She's pretty hip with the hairstyle.
That's fair.
But a company outside of disc golf, probably like Nike or Adidas or something like that. But if it doesn't have to do with sports, maybe like I don't know, Microsoft or something.
They just send you free computers all the time.
Yeah.
I respect that. Albert, what do you think?
I think like protein to get the muscles growing. But I think like Under Armour or like Adidas would be nice.
If you could refrain from flexing on us for the rest of the time, I'd appreciate that. The rest of us don't appreciate the muscles you got going. Okay. Albert, there was another special question for you from the chat. They said, ask Albert, will he wear his mile challenge outfit on tour sometime?
Probably when I'm gonna participate in some distance competition, then I will have it with me.
My man. Looking sharp. Come on. You can't deny it. Okay. This is a fantastic question that I'm glad that we have a couple of Europeans on here for. So on Disc Golf Answer Man this last week, we talked a little bit about why we haven't had a world championship in Europe before, and who will be the first European to win a world championship. And so one of the questions here is, we'd like to hear the panel's predictions on which European MPO player and FPO player will win worlds first. So since I'm talking to Albert, I'm going to ask Albert, which European MPO player and FPO player do you think will be the first European world champion? If you don't say yourself, you don't believe in yourself. So I'll give you that one, but go ahead.
Yeah, this is a tricky one, but yeah, I think for FPO, that might be Kristin or somebody from the Finns.
Mm-hmm.
For MPO, there's so many good ones out there. I cannot neglect myself, but I think Simon or somebody for the Finns, maybe like Oskari sometime, maybe.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Nate, who do you think?
Didn't Brigitte already win the FPO?
I don't know. If she did, then
she won.
Okay. Yeah. Deepest apologies to her. let's say the coming FPO World Championship. That's my fault on that.
Oh, you mean like this year?
No. Who will be the next European FPO player and then the first MPO player? Well, my fault.
Well, I got to keep it in. I got to keep it inside our team and go with either Henna or Evelina. As young as they are and as talented as they are, I think that they would be a good pick. No offense to Kristin, obviously.
She seems mad. How about on the MPO side? I'm just kidding. She does not seem mad.
I mean, this guy Simon is decent for sure. If he ever got a decent head on his shoulders, I think he'd have a chance.
What?
Wow, got him. Simon, your thoughts?
I agree fully with what has been said. I've been very impressed with a lot of the European female side, and I have high hopes that I think they would probably more likely to win Worlds, one of the girls, than us right now, which I'm obviously working on changing. I know Paul is definitely worried about me mostly during the World Championships, but yeah, I mean, it would be definitely one of the dreams come true to come on top at Worlds. But yeah, it's such a long event and so on the hardest courses against the toughest competition. So I don't know, but I think Kristin or Henna have a great chance. Evelina, obviously, can't forget her. And then I think right now I'm probably the European with the best chance at it. Who knows how much longer I'll be European, though.
Yeah, somebody asked if you're still planning to move to Austin at some point. Yes or no?
Plans change all the time. Low chance right now, but we might stay up in New England.
Gotcha. Kristin, what do you have to say about it?
Well, of course, I would like to win. Everybody does. But I think Henna and Evelina, they want it as bad as I want. So, yeah, we'll see. But from the MPO side, I think Simon should have won it a long time ago. So pressure is on you.
Just hands up in disgust about it. Sorry, Simon. Paul, what do you have to say about it?
I mean, that's a tough question. I think on the FPO side, Kristin's probably the favorite right now, and then you got the other two Finns, not too far behind, and then MPO. I mean, we got two solid Europeans right here, but outside of them, I think I'd have to go with Oskadi. I think he's got a lot of talent and very young, so he's got many years ahead of him to take down a world championship.
Excellent. And Chris, we talked about this on the show, but for the people who didn't listen, tell us what you think.
Yeah, it was kind of my hot take, and we had talked about it, Robert, that you thought that a female would win it before a male, or 3 times before a male, right?
The show's called Hot Takes, and I took hot.
Yeah.
I think that's how you say it.
Yeah, I think everybody's kind of summed it up. Kristin and then Henna and Evelina are right up there. Any one of them could win. And I always forget, I assume Simon's like American now, I guess. I don't know. He's been here for so long and touring in the US so long. But like Oskari is really good. He's up and coming. Vino is good, and Seppo. So it'll be exciting.
Excellent. Another question from the chat. We'll start with Chris, and we'll have Chris and Kristin and Simon answer this one. How do you handle someone on your card who is really struggling to score well? Are you likely to encourage them? Are you likely to just kind of stick to yourself? How do you handle that, especially if they're kind of bringing down the feel of the card?
Well, I think that for most professionals that we all play with, people carry themselves, in a really good manner. Sometimes stuff gets to you. So if somebody is like affecting our card or affecting me, I might just like step away from them, or I might like talk to them a little bit and try to like cheer them up, or something like that. Or like if they're really being bad, I'll just be like, all right, just keep shooting well and making them feel bad.
Sorry about you.
Yeah.
Kristin, how do you handle that situation?
I guess it depends on the person. If I know them well, if I know that they they expect me to comfort them or do something, then I will. But otherwise, I mostly just keep to myself and just do my thing.
Excellent. And Simon?
Yeah, it definitely depends who is the one shooting poorly. Like if it's Macbeth, then you just like sit back and enjoy. But if it's like someone that's like super nice and you don't want anything bad for them to happen, like Nate Sexton, then you'll try to like push him in any way you can, or just give him all the space he needs. Just do everything that will hopefully make him shoot better.
Shots fired.
I appreciate that.
I think one of you guys appreciates that.
It's only because we're on the computer. That's it. If we were sitting at the pro panel,
he'd never say it in person.
No.
I think I would have.
Okay, so for the other three, for Nate, Albert, and Paul, kind of the opposite side of that. When you are in a slump on the course, how do you get yourself back in the right mindset? We'll start with Paul.
Man, that's difficult. That's probably the hardest part of golf, is trying to figure that out, is get through those rough spots and try to bring your round, back online. So it's just trying to forget it. I think that's the thing I look for the most. It's just kind of what's done is done. I can't do anything about it. I just need to, commit and make my next shot a good one, because if I'm still focused on what happened the last shot or a few holes ago, it's gonna affect the rest of the round. So just kind of looking at it like what's done is done. I can only go forward from here.
Yeah, absolutely. Nate, what do you have to say?
I try to laugh about it a little bit if possible. And then beyond that, I'm just trying to believe in my talent and my preparation, and knowing that things will average back out, and trying to keep my goals extremely simple when I'm having a tough day. Like my goal might just be like, just throw this hard. And when I succeed at that, I always joke about how like I have to, if I hit a tree when I threw it hard, I have to look tough in front of like Paul and Simon. So I'll be like, and kind of kick the ground, but internally I'll kind of be like, nice, dude. Yeah. Like we're getting back on the train now, and the next shot can be a little bit better. So yeah, I got to kick some stuff and look like a tough guy, but internally I try my best to like compliment myself even on a tough day and be like, that angle was great. I know you went OB, but the angle was great, and you ripped it. And so whatever, like next one, steal a little bit of confidence even from the mistakes, and then try to take it to the next hole with a simple game plan until you start to even back out and get back closer to your player rating, which is not a fluke. You've been that good for a reason. So I just try to trust that and work my way back slowly.
Very good. Can I follow up on the psychology of that a little bit? Because I think one of the things that's holding probably a lot of advanced players and kind of lower tier professionals from getting to the tier that you guys are at is the mental side. Physically, they can do probably everything that y'all can do across the board, not everybody all the time, but a lot of people have physical talent. Not a lot of people have the mental game to take them there. And so is that something that when you're getting ready for a round, Nate, and you're thinking about score and you're thinking about what the round is going to look like, do you set those sorts of goals differently than just saying, I want to take a 2 on this hole, I want to take a 3 on this hole all the time? Or is it just something that happens when you're playing poorly? How do you kind of attack that?
Obviously you take some crazy double bogey you weren't expecting, like the number you were hoping you might shoot is out the window now. There's no way you're going to claw back from something like that, if double bogeying a birdie hole or something, because your goal is always going to be, near perfection. You're looking for like a fantastic 1080, 1090 type performance. But I would say I'm just still trying to, as cliche as it is, but just trying to play it as much one shot at a time as I can. And a mantra I try to tell myself is like, I just want to come out here and throw shots that make me proud. And it's not like really about trying to compete against Simon in any small way, like on hole 4. It doesn't really matter to me what anybody does in the moment. It only matters just like keep throwing shots that I'm proud of. And then at the end, it was like, oh, cool, a trophy. Awesome.
Excellent. Okay. I've got one last question that I kind of jumped the gun with you on, but we'll circle back to it. So I appreciate that. Albert, when things aren't going well for you on the course, how do you kind of regroup?
I'm pretty much like Nate. I think I'm just like trying to get myself some small wins. to build up the confidence again, and then just hope for the best.
Excellent. Okay, so last question for the pro panel. First of all, we really appreciate you guys joining us. It's been a pleasure talking with y'all, and I wish we could be sitting next to each other on the stage, but in lieu of that, it is good to see all of you guys, and for everyone who's joining us live to be able to see you as well. So on one of the, I do a mental game podcast, and the last question that I ask everybody is, what's the thing that you think you do mentally better than anybody else? Just like I talked about with Nate, there are a lot of people with physical abilities. There are very few people with a mental game needed to get to the top level. What's something that you think you do that maybe people could learn from that makes you kind of ascend to the next tier that they could work on to go from, 940 to 960, 960 to 1,000, 840 to 900, wherever that is? What's something that you think you do really well, just as well or better than anybody else? We'll start with Albert.
I think being able to just laugh at myself for, like, if I make a bad shot, just like, yep, whatever.
Even while doing the mile challenge and wearing the outfit?
Yeah, pretty much, like, just enjoy the moment and yeah, keep it fun.
Excellent. Paul, you are known for having a winner's mentality. Talk about what you do mentally so well.
I guess it's like a blessing and a curse. It's finding little petty things to get mad about, and mad in the sense of like motivated by.
Sure.
Like Germ's 6'6", like he should have a huge advantage over me if we're going physically. So what am I going to do that's going to make me outperform him or outwork him or whatever? So it's just kind of always finding these little motivations to go putt more, go throw more, go to the gym more, or just kind of want to play more. So like I said, it's a blessing and curse, but it's always finding these little petty, little motivating things to get me out there and just working on things.
I get it. So if you don't want to get on Paul's bad side, don't be different than him in any way at all. You must be identical, and then it'll be just fine.
There you go. Yeah, like Chris has nice long hair right now. I'm growing mine out too, so maybe we'll get some curls going soon.
Awesome. I dig it.
Yeah.
Simon, what about your mentality? What could people learn from?
Man, I think I do better than most is that cameras and audience like feels me. Like I think I perform better with more pressure and with a bigger gallery and more cameras. So that's always been one of my strengths ever since I can remember playing in Germany way back in the days, that the more people were watching, the more fun I would have and the better I would play. So that's a thing. And then I think putting bad shots into perspective, just like realizing that almost any problem that I have in my life is pretty laughable compared to real problems a lot of the other world has. So just kind of put stuff in perspective, and that kind of like keeps you happy and like shrug and smile away some bad throws.
Excellent. Yeah, that's a great outlook to have. Kristin, what do you do really well mentally?
I think I don't let myself be bothered by small things, and I see a lot of people who do let these things in their head, and they just try to like make excuses for themselves and why something they didn't make it happen. And I just don't do that. I don't really make any excuses for myself, and just focus on executing the shots, and that's it.
Excellent. Thank you. We'll do Chris and then Nate to finish up.
Well, I was going to say exactly what Paul said, because like I love practice, but some days you just don't want to do it, but you have to find little things that, make you mad. So you want to actually go do it. But since he said that, I will say my sportsmanship is, one of the best out there. Because I want every competitor to, be happy and shoot well. I just want to do it a little bit better.
Yeah. You want them to shoot 1050 just as long as you're shooting 1060.
Yeah, there you go.
I can dig that. All right, last but not least, finish this out, Nate.
I think for me, it's like just never giving up. I think no matter how bad I'm playing, like I'll get mad and I might be kind of annoying, but I never get to that point that I see a lot of players get to where they're like, I'm just going to go for it and throw the roller and whatever. And I don't think that strength of mine necessarily pays off in the form of like wins, but it pays off in like, you know, having not missed the cash for 11 straight years. Because even at my worst, you're never going to get me to a place where I'm like, I just don't care anymore, dude. I'm just whatever. I'm always going to, once I step to the tee, I'm going to give you my best effort every time. Even if I was crying and I was mad a couple seconds before that, once I'm actually on the tee, it's like, I'm not trying to screw around. So I think I'm one of the best at just keeping going, no matter how tough it gets.
Excellent. And not missing the cash for 11 years. That's pretty impressive, man. Well done.
It can't last forever, but I'm going to try to make it.
Make it last forever. Whatever your last event is that you make just last cash on, that's your last event.
All right. I retire, everybody. Thank you.
It's been fun. Thank you very much.
I'm on a 3 tournament cashing streak, so watch out.
New cash
I'm on
streak.
like 250 or something like that.
That's fantastic. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us today for the virtual GBO Pro Panel. Thank you once again to Nate Sexton, Paul McBeth, Simon Lizotte, Kristen Tatar, Chris Clemons, and Albert Tamm. If you'd like to support them during this time, you can go find them on social media. I'm sure all of them are on Facebook and Instagram, as well as some of them are on YouTube. I'm sure you've seen that quite a bit. We hope that you will join us for some more of the virtual GBO activities throughout the week. And we look forward to seeing you guys in person next year in Emporia 2021 GBO. Thanks for joining us, guys.